let's build a survival-friendly lighthouse. Hi friends, and welcome back to Raft. I had an absolutely crazy idea late last night, and I've spent all day building it to share it with you, so here we go. A lot of you lovely folks have been requesting a raft design that you can build over time as you progress through the game, which makes a lot of sense. You don't have the resources to build something like my steamboat at the beginning of your world. However, a lot of you have also asked me for a tower design or a small but tall build, and I had the brilliant idea to combine the two suggestions into one design. So here we are with a custom lighthouse raft that's designed so that you can build it as you move through the game, and you gain access to new stuff. I've worked it out so that each of the 4 individual floors inside the raft can be built roughly every 45 minutes that you're working on the raft building. Obviously, you'll also need to progress through the story to unlock some of the stuff, but I'm not counting that as building time. So, if you find this build interesting, or if you just enjoy the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It'll be much appreciated. But without further ado, let's get into building a survival-friendly lighthouse. To start, you'll need a 7x9 rectangle with rounded corners. Please note that I'm using the expensive wood texture here because I think it looks nicer, but you can always build a budget version of this raft using the cheaper wood texture and then upgrade it whenever you want as you go down the line. Within that 7x9 foundation, you're going to want to create a small L of nets that starts 1 square diagonally from the front. The exact dimensions of the nets are 7x4 instead of 7x5, so that the engine wall can eventually be supported. On the square behind the first collection net, build a diagonal door and then an octagon out of half walls. If you'd like the wrapping paint pattern on the outside of your lighthouse, you'll need to layer 2 sets of matching triangles on each flat, non-diagonal wall, and then move that set up by 1 half wall whenever you pass over a diagonal wall. I will indicate where each set of triangle layers goes in purple as we progress through, so pay attention to that if you want that wrapped pattern. If you don't care about that, just put in normal half walls and you're good to go. Anyways, bring this bottom layer up to be 3 half walls tall in total. Next, you're going to want to build a 3x3 square out of half walls off of the octagon towards the center of the raft, so that the flat of the wall comes off of the diagonal front of the octagon. When building the second layer of the half walls on that 3x3 square, the middle of the front has a window with another half window on top of it, and then you add in your little roof triangle and some upside down triangles on the sides. Then you're going to want to connect the roof of the little square with the normal roofs and the smaller half roofs so that they align with the raised window and form kind of like a T-shaped roof. Then add a cheap half pillar coming out of the back or corner of your little house. Fill in the roof of the octagon using whatever method you prefer, making sure that you leave a triangle open next to the door so that you can go up the ladder that you should place inside the door to the left. Inside of your octagon, remove the wall that connects the octagon to the little house and replace it with 1 upside down triangle so that it meets up with the roof. On this level, place your research table to the left of the door opening into the little house, with your 2 simple grills hanging on the wall above the table and a small chest underneath. Next to that, stack 4 simple chests, and next to that, stack however many small crop plots you'd like to have behind the ladder. On the other wall, hang your simple bed and put your small simple purifier next to the door. For now, you can use that little house for your upgraded items or your overflow items, and when you eventually get your smelters, you can work on building up the next level of your lighthouse. Also, over time, you'll want to upgrade your little bed setup to include a hammock hanging from the ceiling with some chests on the wall behind it and a better water purifier on the floor, but just feel free to do that when you get around to it. For now, let's move on to building the next layer. Add a cheap horizontal half pillar coming out from the back side of the outside, and add another one on the flat side above the door. These will need to be connected to the ground by vertical pillars for now, but those are just scaffolding, which you can remove after you've placed down your antenna, each of which goes on one of those 2 half pillar juts we just made, and the third goes on that little half pillar sticking out of the house roof. Then bring up your walls for another 3 half walls, except that front diagonal wall that doesn't have a door. Leave that one at just 1 half wall tall because that's eventually where your thin window will go. Cap off that level, remembering to leave holes for the ladder that you'll need to extend upwards again. This is also when I would recommend fortifying your exterior, as you'll probably have smelters by this point, which you should then move up to be alongside the ladder on your new floor. Eventually, your steering wheel will go along the front part of the raft, but for now you can just put your receiver alongside the wall where your window will eventually go. Then your advanced grill goes along the wall in between the steering wheel and the ladder, and your engine controls will eventually fit in between the receiver and your smelters, so make sure you leave a small gap for that. Then you can just add in however many chests you'd like on the walls above the smelters to constitute the bulk of your storage. Honestly, you can line the whole thing with chests if you so choose. The next layer is for farming, so fill in your 3 layers of half walls completely around the perimeter. Then you can block off most of the floor with some fences so that you can then place a little T out of 4 grass plots. Believe it or not, this is actually enough to keep one of every animal kind fed as long as you're good about filling up the sprinkler. The sprinkler, speaking of which, should go on the back wall so that the pipe connector faces the back of the raft. I like to put 2 simple small crop plots in the corner so that it looks a bit more complete, but that's totally optional. Remember to cap off the roof with a little bit of space for the ladder again. Around this point is also when you'll probably be at least close to getting an engine, so you can destroy the 3 foundations along the back wall of your little house and add in your engine so that the little hat is against the lighthouse. For the next floor, you'll need a door right next to the ladder, and you can then build a little balcony by wrapping around the outside with triangles and normal floors. Just make sure to add a railing too so that you don't fall off. Then build up your 3 half walls as per normal, and inside you can place your recycler alongside the back wall, with your cooking pot in one corner and your juicer in the opposite corner, and just fill in the roof. At the very back of your raft, you can also place an electric purifier so that it lines up with the back of your octagon, and then just run pipes up to the level with your sprinkler, and it will connect through the wall to give you some automatic watering so that your animals stay nice and healthy. On the very top of your raft, add in 3 half walls so that they make a little square with an opening facing the back of the raft. Then place your windmill so that it slides into the little opening, and add a layer of half windows on top of the half walls, and you can finally cap it off with a little hat. Then just block off the exterior tower with a railing that connects to the square opening on either side. Fill whatever space you can inside that little square with as many lights as you possibly can, because it is a lighthouse after all. Inside the engine area, add your advanced biofuel refiner so that it connects up to your engine, and then I like to place the beehive in that one remaining square in the back corner. I also like to add some hanging flowers on the wall right above the beehive to make my honey source. So now you can add in some extra decorations to make your lighthouse look a bit more convincing. First, add in some detail planks and or shelves and half pillars to your little engine house for a bit of dimension and break up the flatness of the front wall and the roof connections. I also added in 3 more grass plots and a simple medium plot in front of the little house to give it like kind of a lawn area. And then for the long window, I just added 3 detail planks on either side of the window with a detail plank running horizontally both above and below, which makes this nice thin shape that's centered, which is kind of what you generally see on a real lighthouse. For the balcony, I added in a rim of detail planks on the border of the half wall directly below the balcony, and then I placed some quote-unquote supporting detail planks so that they connected to the middle of the short sides, and then the first pillar and the middle of the long sides. It ends up looking pretty evenly spaced after you're all done. Also, just a note that you will need scaffolding pieces to place these bits of decoration, but I'm assuming that you're in the later phases of the game at this point, and therefore that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And then I just added in 1 more rim of detail planks around the outside of the uppermost layer, and around the outside of the raft itself, I also added in a railing because I thought it looked nice, but it does make getting back onto the raft slightly harder after you're swimming. Finally, it's time to add in a coat of paint in whatever colors you like to finish things off. And that's how you build a lighthouse that's fully equipped for your survival world. I personally fell in love with this design because it's cozy and aesthetic while still being compact and functional. But if you ever needed to expand, or if you need more space or something, you can always add in additional rows of foundation on pretty much any side without ruining the visual aesthetic, especially if you hide those machines behind the engine house. Like I said, this raft was designed to be relatively survival friendly so that people could enjoy building it as they move through the world with some aspect of aesthetic design along the way, and that way it doesn't interfere with your raft's long-term plans. So be sure to let me know what you think of this design, and also be sure to send me your results if you try to build it in your own worlds. Anyways, I think that's it for me for now. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider leaving a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps me out. I hope to see you all again soon, but until then, have a great day.